I know, right?
Oh, yeah. He's got that one done. They got together on that stuff.
Welcome to King Cora, folks. Now I have the double microphone on here, which looks a little foolish, but we're going to do it this way. How's that for our CBC lady? Okay. As you can see here, we're a bunch of parents. We're not professional public speakers, so we're going to muddle through this press conference. And I'm just so pleased that we have every school impacted from east to west, including Georgetown and Belfast and St. Jean's and King Cora, which includes 3 schools. And then we have, who do we have up west? We have Bloomfield and St. Louis. And in spite of the bad weather report tonight, we've got people from every single school. So thank you for coming. Now I'd first like to do a little overview of what we have planned for tonight. First of all, just to go over a little bit of our agenda for this evening. I am going to present our unified statement from our coalition as a whole. And then afterwards, we're going to take some time so each of the schools or families of schools has a chance to present their own individual feedback. Because I think we have to make the difference between that statement that we're sharing as a unified group, as well as the fact that we're very individual school communities with our own needs and our own demands and our own voices. And that will be shared tonight as well. Just in terms of ground rules, I'm just asking that we speak one at a time. We have Millie here from the Journal and the Guardian, and I believe we have Nicole from CBC, so thank you. Now I'm going to actually read out our unified message that we'd like to share as a group as a whole. The Coalition of Island Schools under review, including representatives from Georgetown, Belfast, St. Jean's, King Cora, St. Louis, and Bloomfield, share a unified message that we want an end to the school review process, no closures or reconfigurations, and the election of school trustees who will represent individual school communities before moving forward with any changes to our island schools.
Yes.
That is our unified message, and we're hopeful that because Monday night is the very important meeting where we hear our trustees make their announcements and their final recommendations, we know that this evening is our last opportunity as a unified front to share that message. So we hope that we've been heard. I'd now like to turn the floor over to each of our families of schools and individual schools, and I'll introduce them one by one. And at the same time, I'm going to ask that they use both this microphone and the one on the table to accommodate our sound for CBC. So starting off, we have Carrie O'Brien, and afterwards Mallory Peters, and they both speak on behalf of Georgetown Elementary.
Thank you, everybody. The fight to control our children's education has been widely supported across the island. We want to thank the individuals and the organizations that have stood up in solidarity and aligned themselves with our cause. We are asking for your continued support in reestablishing rural Prince Edward Island as an important and thriving part of the Prince Edward Island economy, and as the cultural center of what is being an Islander means. It is time to stand up and stand together for rural PEI. We believe in revitalizing rural PEI, not giving up on it. We believe that the possibilities exist to have a vibrant, engaged community from tip to tip. We are rural strong, and we will continue to fight for rural equality. The island way of life, we are just beginning.
The Georgetown Home and School, as well as the Georgetown Strategic Advisory Committee, believe in a moratorium on the school review process and also an elected school board. Georgetown is the capital of Kings County, and the school is the heart of our community. Our children have access to many town amenities, including our state-of-the-art playhouse, our town hall and fire department, rink, our beautiful local coastline, and small shops and businesses, all within a walking distance. Our students learn a unique sense of community in the town of Georgetown. We stand by all schools involved in this process. This review is not complete, and the data is not accurate. We believe this review needs to end. No closures and no reconfigurations. We want an elected school board, not 3 hand-picked board of directors. Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce Marcella Ryan from Belfast.
Hello. Can you hear me? The Belfast Home and School Association and Belfast Action Committee believe that a school is the single most integral cornerstone of a community's infrastructure, future development, and growth. Any examination of school change within the community must be done with a complete understanding of its people, geography, and economy. The highest consideration should be given to the impact on children, families, and community. Rural communities especially would face a considerable threat if its continued existence, Rural communities especially will face a considerable threat if its continued existence should the school be closed. To its continued existence should the school be closed. No such decision can be considered legitimate without adequate input and detailed research of affected communities, which has clearly been absent in the Category 2 Change Study Report. Centralized pronouncements made by unelected officials cannot be accepted with so much at stake. Although the process put in place is flawed, it has proven without a shadow of a doubt that the authors of the report have given no consideration to the communities affected by its recommendations. It is our hope that this report be withdrawn by April 3rd and no further examination of school change policy be put forth until such a time when a system with elected, accountable representatives is established. Belfast Consolidated School is united with all schools affected by the recommendations within the Category 2 Change Study Report.
Next, I'd like to introduce Mitchell Tweel, who's speaking on behalf of St. Jude's.
Thank you, Janet. I think we should give Janet a nice round of applause for organizing. I'm honored to be here today to represent the St. Jean's community and to work with the Home and School Association and parents that we've had many discussions with over the past 2 to 3 months. We had a rally at St. Jean's School, and what was clear at St. Jean's School is our community is a blue-collar, working-class district. And we're very proud of that. We don't have the 2 SUVs in the driveway. We don't have all the fancy technologies in terms of giving presentations, 10-point presentations, and all the bells and whistles. But what we have is raw emotion and sheer determination. That's what we have. And I can tell you this community will be underestimated, that whoever's whoever's in power making this decision, whether it's at the appointed level or at the elected level, you will make this decision at your own peril. Make no mistake about it. We truly believe, and we tried to cooperate, we tried to collaborate. Back in February the 1st, offered the opportunity to work with the 3 directors in terms of wanting to go through their report with Melissa's report that she worked long and hard at, and we submitted that report on February the 1st. We didn't get the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to meet with the directors. I think that's very unfortunate. It's very disappointing. And that's not my or our community, or I believe anyone in this room's definition of true collaboration. That's not collaboration. That is a decision made from the top down, as opposed to a decision made from coming from the people that are affected by this decision in the communities. So we're very proud. St. Jean's is very proud. And I do want to note that when we did have our rally at St. Jean's School, here's what really struck me, is that when we had schools from across this province come to our school, because up until that point, this emphasis was on rural PEI. And we were, you know, in the city, all by ourselves, the low-hanging fruit, if you will, and, oh, well, that's only St. Jean's. I mean, who really cares? But no. All of the other schools came to our rally, and that meant a lot to me. And when that message was delivered loud and clear, I said, I'm in, and I'm in all the ways. And the first thing that took place was a rally down in Georgetown. Over 600 people attended, right, Melvin? Over 600. So from there, the campaign started to take off, and the train left the station. And it left the station, and it continued on, and that passion, that compassion, and that raw emotion and sheer determination, not just the analytics that were written to counter the report from the 3 directors, but it was that sheer determination. I couldn't get over the turnout of Belfast for the event they put on. Over 400 people, truly remarkable, remarkable. And anyone that's interested in political life, which I am, and I looked around and I said, you know what, there's something going on here. There's a message being delivered. So you want to get on board or get run over. So then you go up to Tignish, up west, We the West, a tremendous turnout. And that was a very powerful meeting. The meeting here in King Cora, once again, very powerful, lots of emotion, lots of sheer determination. So I've been involved in a lot of campaigns, but I'll tell you, this one is right up there. It's really remarkable, and I personally have learned a lot. So we're going to go to that meeting on Monday night. We'll let them come out with their conclusions. We'll let them come out with their recommendations, and then that's when the work begins. Okay? Doesn't end, it starts. So let's keep it going. Nobody gives up. Let's stick together, and let's keep the train moving.
Thank you, Mitchell. That's really well said. Now, our next group is King Cora, and I'm looking at my buddy Jen Duffy, and she's looking at me thinking, I'm going to kill you if you call me up here. So I won't do that. Were you scared, though? Yeah. I had written a few things to say about King Cora. I was going to go off on a little rant about the privacy commissioner collecting information from our buddy Parker tomorrow, and I was going to threaten and promise the court case that we fully are prepared to wage depending on the results of Monday night's meeting. But instead, I'm just going to speak and not look at the notes I wrote. And you know what I just realized? This is crazy. This is crazy that so many parents and community members and municipal leaders, so many smart and intelligent and compassionate people are saying the same thing. We're saying we love our schools, Small schools are valuable schools. If we're all saying the same thing, and all of our small schools are valuable schools, what the hell is going on? Why did they have to waste so much money on such a badly done review? We've all read the reports. We've read them in every detail. We've stayed up all night reading the reports, and they are totally full of errors and mistakes and omissions. Our report here for Kincora had 4 lines designated for community input. Can you believe that? 4 lines. How much input did we give them? And how much input did every other school community give within the reports for their communities? This is crazy. And I just realized that. So if our government and our 3 appointed trustees come out on Monday night and recommend anything except what we have all been stating for these past 6.5 months, they are also crazy. And we have to really seriously figure out what we're going to do for the next 6 months. Because here in Kincora, we're not even really mad yet. You didn't threaten to close our schools. You just suggested maybe looking at the merits of having another study to look at busing our grade 10 to 12s to other schools. Well, we interpreted that. We read between the lines. But we're not even like these other folks sitting at the table here who know that school closures are a very true and possible reality for them for September. So if you think I've personally been hard to deal with over the last 6 months, wait till you piss me off. That's a promise. That's all I'm going to say about Kincora for now. But I'd now like to introduce Tishy Shea from St. Louis.
Hi, I didn't prepare a speech. I found out the way here that I had to talk. At St. Louis, we believe that the process is flawed. It should be stopped. It's going to hurt our local businesses and our small community and our stores. And the report also was done on our school by Google Maps. How accurate is that to look at our roof? They Google mapped our roof and seen 2 different color shingles, and our roof is fine because someone actually did climb up and look at it after that. I'm very proud to live in this beautiful island because, as they say, the wild, wild west, they haven't seen wild yet. This goes through. And that's all I guess I have to say. Oh, and the elected school board has to be done. We have to have an elected school board. I mean, this is ridiculous. 3 hand-picked people, ridiculous. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tishy. Finally, I'd like to introduce Katie McLennan, who's here to speak on behalf of Bloomfield.
Hi, everyone. Mine isn't a lot. I don't know. Anyway, I wrote the speech like this afternoon. Just we had a busy day at Bloomfield today, and anyway, I've had the honor this winter, like all of you. You probably know more people in your community this year than ever before, just by sitting on these councils and things like that. And this winter, I had the opportunity to sit on not only my local home and school and the little committee that was formed to deal with this, but our United group. You know, West Prince has always been known as Up West, which is a good thing, people. But West Prince always works hard together, right from the first day we proved that. I remember getting that announcement, and that afternoon the wheels were already turning in other schools, and they said, you know, we need to do something. And from, you know, we had 2 really well done presentations, one at the beginning and this second go around. We had a rally that raised the rafters at West Isle and getting the true facts out to the media, to all Islanders. That was something that we put a lot of focus in, and we were really, to this day, we are very proud of. But most of all, it brought our community of West Prince together, and to take a stand on the most important current issue on Prince Edward Island, the education system. This review has, if anything, given Islanders their voices, and forced us as parent leaders in our education community to educate our fellow parents and Islanders on the crisis that is our current education system. For Bloomfield Elementary School, well, we have always been a tight, close-knit school, but now we are stronger and closer than ever. Our parents are more engaged and are more supportive of our school. No matter what the outcome is on Monday night, the parents of the Bloomfield Home School have already been discussing the next step in this process, fixing the many deficiencies found by parents during this school review process. Bloomfield is just getting warmed up. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. So a little disclosure here. Mitchell asked me there a few weeks ago if we could have this press conference and if I'd mind inviting some people and rallying the troops. So we did that just recently and invited the press to come. I hope I did that okay. And then I realized, okay, we've invited everyone and we put it on the Facebook. What do we do with them when they get here? So I was on my lunch break today thinking, it's only about 6 hours away. So I Googled how to run a press conference. And in the Google post, it did say that you're supposed to have a question and answer period. And as a little preface, Pat Duffy did say to me today, are you just doing a press release or is there a Q&A section? I'm thinking Q&A section, maybe we should have that. So I did put it on the agenda. We have 2 members of the press here. If you'd like to ask any questions of these nice people up here, we do have it on the agenda. If not, we can move forward. What would you like, Nicole?
Well, I'd love to know if someone is willing to speak about exactly what you plan to do should they recommend school, should they decide on school closures. I know that someone's saying that, they're going to hire a lawyer, but I just want to know, what is your exact plan? What's your next step if they decide to close?
Maybe I'll speak just on behalf of Kincora, because I think for this question we can only speak from our own perspective of our school communities, knowing that not everyone up here may be in a position where they want to answer that question on behalf of their entire school community. So after I finish, if there's anyone else who would like to speak, you're welcome to do so.
And feel free to face the crowd as well.
Okay. Kincora will be going to court. We've done our homework, we have the resources, we have the commitment from very generous community members. It's very simple. That you make any recommendation to reconfigure or to put us through another ridiculous study, and we will be going to court. Very simple. Are there any other schools who'd like to speak to that question?
I know myself, and on behalf of the Georgetown group, we will be calling Mr. McLaughlin again because he doesn't have a reason not to meet with us this time. It's in his hands after Monday, so we'll be trying to get a meeting with him on that.
Thank you. That's a very good question. I think what we'd like to do is have our Home and School Association meet immediately after that meeting to see what options that we could explore. But I think one strategy we'll definitely be pursuing is we would like to have a meeting with the Premier, all members of the Cabinet, all members of the Legislative Assembly. If you can have a vote on electoral reform, and surely you can have a vote where 27 members of the Legislative Assembly get to cast their vote on whether or not schools should remain open are closed. If we can do it for electoral reform, and I have to say, this is much more important. The whole school issue and rezoning across this province is extremely important, very important. So there should be a vote in the Legislative Assembly where MLAs can say, oh, I'm with you. Well, you know what? Action speaks louder than words. Action speaks louder than words. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be having a meeting with our community and then going from there. But the thing that concerns me, and I'm glad you brought that question up, I understand just talking to Alan here tonight that the cabinet is going to be meeting the very next day. That raises a lot of red flags. So hopefully they won't be making that determination at that meeting the very next day. So we'd like that assurance that we need time to set up our strategy to kick off the campaign in a much higher gear. Another thing I'd like to bring up, if you don't mind, is we understand that the principals have been meeting with the school branch. And because the principals have been meeting with the school branch, we believe quite strongly that that information should be made public. Instead of working in isolation and having these private, secret meetings with school officials, I mean, we're open and transparent. We've been open and transparent right from day one. So I think all the cards should be put on the table so we can see what cards are being played. That'll give us a much better perspective, a much more appreciation, and then we can even formulate our strategy even further to that. So I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Thank you.
Just in response to Mitchell's last statement, I will expand on my previous comment about the Privacy Commissioner. So I did receive a letter that the Privacy Commissioner has insisted that Parker Grimmer provide information and documentation that was kept secret and kept from parents and community members, and that he has until tomorrow to provide that information to the Privacy Commissioner. Now she then has the ability to make a decision as to whether or not she believes that information should be shared with parents and the public, or if it does need to remain private. So because that's being handed over to her by tomorrow, we hopefully will have a ruling on that appeal very soon, and we will hopefully obtain access to that secretive documentation that should have been made accessible to the public all along. So thank you, Mitchell, for bringing that up. Would there be any other questions? Yes.
I
Yeah.
would like to say a couple of words too. So, first of all, thanks to all of you. May I come? Hi there, folks. My name's Brad Trivers, and I'm the MLA for District 18 Rustico Emerald over here. And of course, I'm part of the official opposition. And I wanted to thank all of you for just the tremendous amount of work you put into this. I mean, as a representative, it's easy to represent people like you that are willing to stand up for yourselves. And I wanted also to, of course, to pass on the regrets of some of my caucus members. But let me tell you, in the official opposition, we will be meeting with Premier McLaughlin and the rest of the MLAs in the legislature on Tuesday, and we will have some tough questions for them. And you better believe that they need to have some good answers, because we're on your side. And if you have any specific questions you want us to ask, please get them to us. Stephen Myers is our education critic, as you know, and I've been working closely with him. Darlene Compton, Cindy McEwen, Jamie Fox, Colin Levy, James Aylward. There's 8 of us. We're all there, and we're fighting for you. So we're going to try and hold their feet to the fire, regardless of what their decision is Monday night, because they have a lot to answer for with this process. So thanks again for the work you do, and we're going to fight for you. Thank you.
Now I'd like to ask if there's anyone from the floor, from the public, or from the table who has any other final comments that they'd like to add, because this is one of our last opportunities before Monday.
name is Patrick Curley. I'm from the Georgetown group, and they're shaking in their boots as bad as I'm shaking up here, for fear of what I might say. But I'm going to try to be pretty easy on them. I do want to mention, though, that there's a certain politicization of this process in that the schools in Kings County are represented by Conservative members, and therefore it's kind of my hope that we won't have the divide and conquer thing happen, but if it does, we need to be together and we need to be supported, whether your school stays open or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Anyone else like to have a time at the mic? Melvin, of course.
Hi everybody, my name is Melvin and I come from Georgetown as well, and it would really be amiss if I don't say something. Anyway, what I'd like to say is that throughout this whole process, we've learned something across Prince Edward Island, and that is that the rural means something to everybody. We've developed friendships, we've developed comradeship that I don't think we've ever seen happen before. From Tignish to East Point, we're united. And it's the first time I've ever witnessed, in my almost 50 years, rural communities come together the way that we have. We have gained so much support from people I never thought in my life I would ever have the honor of associating with. There are some big name people in my books. When I think of Alan Rankin, when I think of David Wheel, when I think of Alan Buchanan, when I think of those guys who have been inside, who have worked, who have pushed the system, who have worked the system, but yet have come along to support each and every single one of us at the table, have supported each and every single community. That in itself says something to government. That how can you ignore that this many people across Prince Edward Island have come together to bring you down? Because that's what we're going to do. The fight's just beginning. Monday's recommendations, no matter what they tell us, is just the beginning. Because rural PEI will stay united, we will fight, and believe it or not, we are going to win. These guys are done. It's not a dictatorship, and that's the way we're being treated. We are dictated to by Mr. McLaughlin. And I'm serious, folks, I've never been so proud to be a rural islander, and look at the work that every single person in this room has put together. It makes you very, very proud to be from Prince Edward Island.
Thank you, Malcolm. Is there anyone else? Petey?
Can I just make one point from the floor?
For sure.
I don't think that the press needs it too bad, but I wanted to reassure Mitchell, when we were in Georgetown doing some planning on these kinds of things, we came down with the statement that the whole of PEI is rural, and St. Jean's is an important rural community, and the fact that they have the immigrant students there is a really important consideration for this process. And so we wanted to reassure you that we didn't think that we were 4 schools that were being shut, and you were out of the picture. The low grape on the vine or whatever. We really had you in mind too.
Well, thank you.
I think that was a really excellent point that Patrick made in terms of that the whole island is a rural community. And I've always felt a little bit bad anytime I promote the rural aspect, think, oh geez, we're leaving St. Jean's out. But what an eloquent way of putting it, that we are all in this together, that we are all rural communities and rural schools. Thank you. Any other final comments? Yes, ma'am.
If any of you are prepared to speak to it, but have you guys given any thought, depending on what the decision is, what you will say to your kids if you have kids in those schools? And that can be open to anyone on the board.
Right here.
Yeah, no, we haven't really prepared any sort of statement. I don't really know what to tell them or how that'll go. We had initially thought of possibly trying to jump zones to keep him with his friends and everything, but at the same time, if we do that, we have to continue that process through several more schools, and he won't be going to school with his neighborhood friends. So, not fully decided what to do there yet, but we're hoping we don't have to.
I guess at this point, what I would decide to tell my kids after Monday night, if the recommendation wasn't in our favor, would be that it is just that, it is a recommendation so far, and that we are going to continue to fight.
You know, it was about 3 weeks ago I was talking to Harvey McEwen, and he said to me, you know, in all my years working, he said, children are so much more, what was the word he used? Resilient than adults. And I'm paraphrasing, those might not have been his exact words, but that was his message. They are so much more resilient than parents. And he didn't say it at the time, but that's not what I think. I think children don't have the strong voices that some of their parents have. And that children can be far less resilient than they appear because they don't have the means to express how horribly they may be feeling. So anyone who likes to talk about the myth that children are so resilient and that it's the parents that don't adapt to change, I personally don't agree with that perspective. You know, we were in, I think it was the Morel meeting, and there were several students there, and some of you, I see you nodding your heads, because I think most of us were all at all the meetings, so we saw them. And those students spoke about what it was like when they were in grade 1 or grade 2, when they were moved from their home schools and moved away from their friends, and the fear that they expressed about having that happen again. Now, that's not resiliency. That's actually feeling real loss when you're taken away from your safe place that you call your school, in your safe community. And that's not that other schools are bad or not safe. Other schools are wonderful, but they are not where those children started out. They're not where those children are connected to, and they're not where those children have already formed key relationships with other students and adults. So I don't agree that children are necessarily so resilient that they are going to bounce through this unscathed. So to answer Millie's question about how I would address this with my own children, I'd say there's no way you're going to town to school. I told you. You're going nowhere. You're going up the road and you're graduating from that high school down the street. No worries. But you have to be persistent and you can't give up. And if it means going all out for another 6 months or a year, you do that because that's what it takes. Now, before I sum up and shut up, is there anyone else from the floor or from the table or a question from Nicole and Millie that you'd like to do?
So I know there were some talks of taking legal action and political action. You'll be addressing Mr. McLaughlin yourself. Will that be done in conjunction with each other, or are those individual efforts based on your schools? Anyone can answer.
I think that's a good question as well. And
Sorry, thank you.
I think you look at it from both perspectives. I think you have to meet with your respective community, the affected community and the home school association, formulate that game plan. But at the same time, we want to be cognizant of the fact that strength in numbers. And this campaign is island-wide. It's been very supportive. There's solidarity from one end of the province to the other. So why not take advantage of both approaches and come up with a real strong collective approach? But there are different things you need to iron out. But but really and truly, our strength has been with that united front.
I'm so sorry. If there is a decision to close one or more schools, how soon will you be meeting with each other?
Right away.
Great, thank you.
Before we end up,
I just have one thought, Mitch, when you talked about meeting the assembly. I think we should invite them, the whole island to island.
Yes.
That invite them to a public place where all of the MLAs to be there and for people to stand up and be counted.
That's a very good suggestion. Thank you. Thank you very much, and we'll act on that. We do have Alan Rankin here, and Alan, if you don't mind, I'd like to get up and say a couple of words. He's been very passionate, very helpful, and you being here again tonight just shows how important it is, and your experience. I'd like you to say a couple of words, please.
Well, I write a column for the Easter Graphic, as you probably know, and as the the media here would probably tell me that you never want to become the story when you're trying to look at things and observe things from the outside with objectivity. But I have to confess that the public school system in the province and how it's been managed by successive governments over the past 10 or 15 years leaves a lot to be desired. And that's an understatement. I've had senior positions within government, and I've had a chance to look at departments' work and departmental bureaucrats, senior officials' work. And the kind of take that I've had on the Department of Education is that they're kind of stuck in some kind of a time warp. They haven't changed their thinking, they haven't changed their approach to public education for an awfully long time, and they haven't been open to new ideas and new approaches for learning. And the thing that's really struck me in this last school review is that they've disassociated the school as a place where you learn from the community over here. They see it as two different entities that are not related at all. And that was evident with this report that was produced, where there was no serious effort to measure the impact of closing a school on the community where it exists. Now, just repeat those words in your head. Can you imagine a school and the role that a school plays for the parents, the families in a community, of not feeling some kind of obligation to ascertain or measure the impact of closing that school on that particular community? Well, folks, that's the approach taken, that has been taken by the public school branch and the Department of Education. And and I know that it's wrong. It's just simply wrong to approach a public school in that way. I think, I've seen a lot of policies, I've seen a lot of bureaucratic approaches in government, some very bad, very deficient. This school review is the one that we just went through, was just very deficient and I think procedurally unfair. In other words, the community never really had a chance to meet the arguments being put forward by the government. That report, because there's, as already been discussed by Janet, with a lot of evidence given to the public school branch that was kept secret, how can the parents, how can you people as a community meet those arguments, oppose the arguments for closure that are being made when all that evidence is being kept from you? It's impossible. So, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I have had a little bit of experience with administrative law, and it doesn't seem to me as if, you know, it's fair at all procedurally and legally, but then that would have to be challenged legally. But just in conclusion, I want to say, you know, what an honor it has been for me to be part of this process, not because I'm standing back and looking at it and observing it and kind of trying to figure out what's been going on. That's been important and interesting, but more so because of the people who have been involved. It's really been for me an honor to have been associated with all of the people here, the communities across the island whose schools have been threatened and have been under the gun. I think if government is smart, if this government is truly listening, and if they're smart, they're going to understand that rural Prince Edward Island has been awakened. There's been an awakening here. Hundreds and hundreds of islanders have gone to meetings and with a lot of knowledge, they've articulately expressed their views on public education. And it's rural PEI and one very vulnerable, little, beautiful school in the middle of Charlottetown that are being unfairly threatened with closure, in my opinion. So it's been a great, as I say, honor for me just to have been associated with all of you, and I still am very optimistic. I think things are going to go the right way. I am going to expect Premier McLaughlin and the government and his cabinet to do the right thing. If they meet on Tuesday morning, before they go off to the Legislative Assembly to meet Mr. Trivers and his colleagues, I hope they go to the House with a good, positive message, that they've listened to Islanders, that they've listened to rural PEI and St. Jean, and they know which side of the bread is buttered. Thank you.
Very well spoken as always, Alan. We're also very lucky tonight, and at every other meeting I've noticed, to have two of our previous elected trustees. And I'm not going to embarrass you, Elizabeth, I can see your face. But I just wanted to share my appreciation, and I'm sure the appreciation from the people at this table, that you've brought the wealth of knowledge that you had from your years serving as truly elected trustees. And you are still committed to what you had done then, and you knew it was so wrong what was done to you as a board of elected trustees. And I sincerely hope that when we return to elected trustees in the very near future, we've got two ladies right here that I really hope that I see run in the East, because the wealth of information and history and knowledge and commitment that you bring to education is invaluable. Thank you. Is there anyone from the floor? Millie? Yeah.
And this can be for anyone or anyone. Is it an all or nothing mentality among you guys? Is there any room for compromise or anything like that? I'm just asking because I'm sure other people are wondering, like, what if we're faced with, we won't close all of the schools, but maybe we can amalgamate, or maybe we can do something else. So what is your standpoint on that?
I'll speak from Kincora's standpoint and then pass the microphone down. We were very clear. We couldn't have been more clear. There's no reconfiguration, And there's no second report. In our case, it's a third report. They've given us 2 studies already. So no, there's no wiggle room. Would it be safe to summarize and say you all may feel the same? Yeah, they feel the same. Good.
I'm sure other people are wondering it, so. Good, thank you.
I think the government figured we were all gonna go against each other and talk. We want our school, and we didn't do that. We're united, we stand united with all.
I think Chichi made a really, really important comment that government did expect this would be a fight amongst schools and a fight amongst families of schools throwing one another under the school bus. And did you see that happen? No, it didn't happen. And neither was there not a fight amongst schools and families of schools. We have a unified front across this island. That wasn't the outcome that our government expected, but it's the outcome that they're getting.
It's the point that they're not qualified to judge outcomes in education.
And they're not looking for the best interest of our kids, putting them on the bus for, you know, some kids at St. Louis will be on the bus for an hour and 15 minutes. I can't drive to Summerside with my kids without pulling over to go to the washroom. So how is a kindergartner gonna do that, really? How is that gonna happen? Right? No, it wasn't It wasn't thought through, and the process is flawed, and they need to shut it down.
Tishy says to shut it down.
Not really, the Liberals will be done. They promised this wasn't happening, and they think they're gonna do this, they can think again. They poke the bears.
Tishy brought up a really good point that I guess we haven't touched on this evening. What about those pre-election promises? What about that promise of elected trustees? What about that promise of no small school closures? Whatever happened to that? How do you hold governments accountable? And I think the only way you hold governments accountable is during the next election. And I won't be forgetting broken promises, and I think there'll be many other people who will have strong memories as well.
I remember.
It's all about trust, right? How can we trust them?
I think I'm going to wrap it up if that's okay with the floor, unless there's anyone that has something burning they'd love to add. You're welcome to the mic. I'd like to say that there's always a silver lining with everything negative. And you know, the silver lining is, just like Alan said, we've woken up. There are so many of us that, you know, we send our kids off to school and we help with homework and we grumble about this and we go to our home and school meetings. But this never happened. I've been at home and school meetings for 20 years now, and we've never really talked about anything of this magnitude before. Well, I guess that little blip on the radar in 2011 during the last study, but for the most part, this is the biggest deal that's happened in home and school and schools and communities for quite a little while. And I think it really draws our attention to the fact that there's so much momentum and energy and caring for how our kids are educated. And what does that do? It draws attention to the other issues in education that we could be spending our time on. You know, our poor teachers. What about classroom composition? What about overcrowding? That is an issue that definitely needs to be reviewed, but not part and parcel with school closures. You know, there's so many issues that we do need to be talking about. Standardized testing isn't the be-all and end-all. Having these school goals set for schools so that they have no freedom to even set goals that are meaningful to their classrooms and their own students. I wouldn't want a job where someone else was setting the goals for me without considering my students or the people who I worked with every day. So there's so many wonderful things that we need to focus our time and energy on with our teachers, with our communities. And what a waste of energy to simply be focusing on saving our schools from closure. So my hope, as I sum up, is that once this review is over and none of our schools are closed and none of our schools are reconfigured, and there are no foolish Category 2 studies scheduled for next September, we can move forward with this same energy to look at ways of improving education and not simply fighting closures. Thank you.
Just before we close, I'd like to stand up and publicly thank you, because you have been, seriously, you've not just become a friend, you've become a mentor, a voice for us, somebody that we admire. For a lady to step out in a community that has not had a school say you're closed, but to realize the importance of bringing everybody together and joining us as one, because you're next in line. I know your name comes up an awful lot at our meetings, and I'm sure it does across Prince Edward Island. Because,
Not always in a good company.
but you know what? To us, you really mean something to us. And we need to publicly thank you, because
Absolutely.
you are a bond that has helped unite all of Prince Edward Island. And I hope you realize how that
On that happy note, thank you, Nova. That concludes our evening. Thank you.